After carving an empire that stretched from Illyria to the gates of India, Alexander's rise was abruptly halted by an untimely death, plunging his vast dominion into chaos. Amidst the turmoil, Ptolemy I, one of Alexander's trusted generals, seized the opportunity to assert his authority in the land of the Nile, establishing himself as progenitor of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Thus, the stage was set for an era of enigmatic intrigue that would shape the course of history. Yet, our focus transcends their feats and flaws. Instead, this video will assess ancient Ptolemaic papyri, which offer a remarkable revelation regarding the appearance of ancient Jews. Etched into parchment by the hands of Hellenic scribes is a vivid description of 12 Jews living in Ptolemaic Egypt. According to these precious documents, these Jews bore phenotypes that would shock the majority of modern laymen. Whereas most would assume ancient Jews to be dark-skinned, haired, and eyed, these Egyptian Jews were majoritively light-skinned and of medium stature. Yet among the collective stood two figures of towering height, as well as one individual with intensely blue eyes. So today, join me as I read through the source for these claims, an article titled "The Physical Appearance of Egyptian Jews According to the Greek Papyri" by Professor Itzhak Fickman. In all, we possess the physical description of 103 individuals. These include 13 Macedonians, 12 Jews, and 11 Thracians, with other ethnic and social groups being represented by much smaller numbers of individuals. All the Jews, 10 men and 2 women, were inhabitants of Samaria, a village known as one of the centers of Jewish settlement in Egypt. It is possible even to reconstitute the family relationship between some of the Jews mentioned in our scroll. All this enables us to compare the physical descriptions of the Jews with the physical descriptions of other individuals mentioned in the scrolls, and the descriptions of Jews who were members of the same family. In the descriptions, the individual characteristics follow more or less the same order: age, height, skin color, shape of the face, often form of the nose, position and form of the eyes, the quality of vision, and the location of scars and spots. The data of these 4 documents mentioning the peculiarities of the physical descriptions of the Jews are grouped in Table 1. The table shows that 10 of the 12 Jews were of medium height, and only 2 were tall. 11 were light-skinned and only 1 dark-skinned, yet no one was of pale complexion. 5 of them were long-faced, 2 were round-faced, and only 1 was flat-faced. There are few data concerning the form of the nose. 2 are recorded as having a flat nose, 1 with a straight nose. There are also 3 individuals with bold foreheads, 2 with hollow eyes, 1 with light blue eyes, a very rare mention in the papyri, and 1 with a thin beard, also a rare occurrence in the papyri. It should be noted that these data correspond to the data published in the corpus. The data of CPR 7 number 2 alone modify the statistical correlation concerning the shape of the face. As noted above, 4 individuals were round-faced. Nevertheless, the predominance of the long faces is maintained. The texts published in CPR 18 are important for another reason. Despite the fragmentary character of the second scroll, they permit us to try to compare data concerning Jews, 12 individuals in all, with the data concerning non-Jews, a total of 91 individuals, among whom, as noted, there were no Egyptians. These data are grouped in Table 2. I took account, for this purpose, of 24 different components, but here I shall discuss only those which are more commonly encountered. Thus, 21 tall individuals among the non-Jews, 21%, correspond to 2 among the Jews, 17%. 45 non-Jews of medium height, 49%, to 10 Jews, 83%. 10 dark-skinned non-Jews, 11%, to 1 Jew, 8%. 46 light-skinned non-Jews, 56%, to 11 Jews, 92%. 30 long-faced non-Jews, 33%, to 5 Jews, 42%. 26 round-faced non-Jews, 29%, to 2 Jews, 17%. 11 non-Jews with bold foreheads, 12%, to 3 Jews, 25%. As to other characteristics, we should note the absence among the Jews of individuals with pale complexions, whereas among the non-Jews there were 9, 10%. The absence among the Jews of people with a hooked nose and a sharp nose, whereas among the non-Jews there were 6, 7%, and 1, 1% respectively with these characteristics. Only among the Jews do we find a single individual with light blue eyes, 8%, 2 hollow-eyed people, 17%, 1 short-sighted individual, 8%, and 1 with a scanty beard, 8%. The signalments considered here, despite their small number, do perhaps permit us to say that Egyptian Jews were generally of medium height, light-skinned, and long-faced, but such a result is not too impressive. Moreover, additional information from a larger number of such sources would probably not change the picture very much, given what we have seen of the nature and function of these documents. So, according to the Macedonian rulers of Egypt, the local Jews were predominantly light-skinned and of medium stature. Yet, one of the Jews had darker skin and 2 others were tall. Compared to non-Jews listed in the Papyri, Jews on average were lighter skinned, longer faced, had bolder foreheads, had bluer eyes, had less hooked noses, and were taller, despite the majority being of medium height. Now, the fact that light blue eyes was only recorded among the Jews suggests that Jews had higher rates of this trait than neighboring demographics. Also keep in mind that 13 Macedonians and 11 Thracians were included in the non-Jewish grouping, yet none had blue eyes, only the Egyptian Jew. Most notably, the Egyptian Jews entirely lacked features such as sharp or hooked noses, a prominent feature among modern Jews. On the contrary, sharp noses were found in 1% of the non-Jews, and hooked noses were found in 7% of the non-Jews. This indicates that modern practitioners of Judaism inherit this trait from diaspora demographics, and not the original Hebrews who they claim descent from. Still, a portion of ancient Judeans did carry this feature, as seen in Judea-Capta coinage from the 1st century AD. Yet, the majority of these coins do not depict Judeans with this feature, and in this period there were plenty of foreign lineages dwelling in Judea. For one, converts to Judaism, such as the Edomites who were forcibly converted by John Hyrcanus in the 2nd century BC. These Edomites would have been mixed with Arab demographics. Secondly, Ezra 9 verses 1-3, Ezra 10 verses 10, and Nehemiah 13 verses 25-27 outline how Israelite men were marrying foreign women after returning from the Babylonian captivity. Third, Ezra 4 verses 1-9 tell us that there were Persians, Urukhites, Babylonians, Elamites, and other foreigners who were planted in Judea and Samaria after the decree of return. These 3 factors may attest to how this feature made its way into the Judean demographic. Lastly, the singular dark-skinned Jew was not necessarily dark as a sub-Saharan African. Among the skin tones listed in Ptolemaic papyri are pale, light, and dark. 10% of the non-Jews had pale skin, and while many will attribute this portion to the Macedonians and Thracians, there were 24 of them in total, which would comprise 23.3% of the 103 individuals. This means a portion of the Macedonians and Thracians must have had light skin rather than pale skin. This is relevant because dark skin would thus constitute anything darker than a European, and can therefore be referencing a skin tone akin to that of modern Arabs. Again, many will assume that the Arabs are a candid representation of how all Middle Easterners look and have looked. However, Arab phenotypes are relatively new to the Middle East, and were introduced through Islamic conquest in the 7th century AD. An article by Mark Haber titled Genome-Wide Diversity in the Levant Reveals Recent Structuring by Culture states, "We reconstructed the genetic structure of the Levantines and found that a pre-Islamic expansion Levant was more genetically similar to Europeans than to Middle Easterners." To add, when it comes to the light blue-eyed individual, he very well may have inherited this trait from Chalcolithic Levantines. In 2018, the Times of Israel released an article titled, "Anomalous blue-eyed people came to Israel 6,500 years ago from Iran, DNA shows." It goes on to state that a study of bones from a massive Galilee necropolis helps fill a 3,000-year gap in knowledge of ancient Levantine settlers. Certain characteristics, such as genetic mutations contributing to blue-eye color, were not seen in the DNA test results of earlier Levantine human remains. The blue-eyed, fair-skinned community didn't continue, but at least now researchers have an idea why. these findings suggest that the rise and fall of the Chalcolithic culture are probably due to the demographic changes in the region. Now, while their culture and exclusive admixture did not continue, there is genetic continuity between these Chalcolithic Levantines and the Israelite samples available to the public. The results of these Israelites also show an affiliation to Huria and Urartu, yet none to ancient Sumeria. This is important because Abraham was not from Ur in Sumeria, but rather Urkesh in Huria. This seems to be attested to by the genetics, so I recommend you watch my upload regarding Abraham's true home. Regardless, my point is that the Israelites carry genetics from these same blue-eyed settlers who entered the Levant 6,500 years ago, and could certainly have inherited blue eyes from them. Not only is it possible that they inherited light skin and blue eyes from these people, but also blonde hair. Here are some excerpts from a channel named Andre DNA, in which he provides phenotype predictions for Chalcolithic Levantines.
We're gonna start with this sample I1164, it's a woman. Her mitochondrial lineage is J2A2. In terms of what she scores for the autosomal DNA, this is what she scores with Eurogenes K13. It looks like she's mostly scoring East Mediterranean, Red Sea, and West Mediterranean. Let's start with Nashakot. This is what she scores with Nashakot. Kind of crazy result, actually. She's scoring blue eyes. She's got blue eyes. It looks like she's also got dark blonde hair. And it looks like she's got lighter fair skin as well. And this is her predicted eye color. For the hair texture, it looks like she's got straight hair. Interesting, so she's just very European looking.
She's from this location right here in Israel. That's where all of the Israel Chalcolithic individuals are from. They're all from the same location. Now we're moving on to the second individual. It's I1169. It's also a female, also from the same location. Her mitochondrial lineage is J2A2. Let's start with Nashakot. With Nashakot, she seems to be scoring blue eyes with an amber center or green eyes. She's predicted to have... I closed it by accident. She's predicted to have dark blonde hair. And she's predicted to have light or fair skin at 93.8% likelihood. So definitely very light in terms of color. In terms of the hair texture, she's predicted to have straight hair.
Now, I understand that even with literary and genetic proof, there will still be skeptics who ignorantly assert that there is a low likelihood, if any, that ancient Jews possessed these traits. Those who are ignorant tend to believe that every single person in the Middle East, since the beginning of time, was brown-skinned, dark-eyed, and black-haired. This is why I suggest viewing my videos, How Jesus, David, and Solomon Looked, and Black Hebrew Israelites Debunked plus Israelites in Europe. These two videos substantiate the presence of light skin, blue eyes, and red hair among the ancient Hebrews through the use of scripture, archaeology, and archaeogenetics. Thank you all for watching this video, and God bless.